Good morning, Atul sir. Good morning, Ashish sir. Good morning, Neha ma'am. I've already met
Good
Anshu
morning.
sir. How are you?
Morning,
Very good
Ashish.
morning.
So I think
Ashish sir, you are on mute. Yes.
Good morning and very nice being here today.
Yeah.
Good morning, Neha ma'am, Anshuman. So lovely to meet both of you.
Very good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Neha ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir.
So
Pleasure meeting
Shikha,
you.
I have a 12:15 hard stop. I'm sorry, I've got something very urgent come up. So Ashish, of course, is the presenter of the day. So Ashish, if you don't mind, I'll have to drop off.
No issues at all, right? So that's fine. We have an hour. That's okay.
Fantastic.
So hi, are all the teachers here? Should we start, Atul? How do we take it forward?
I think we'll give a couple of minutes, Shikha. Neha ma'am.
yes, sir. So Neha ma'am, if you can just send the message in the groups because we have very few students who have joined.
I'll post a reminder.
Yeah.
The messages have already been sent on the student app. I actually cannot see how many participants are there.
There are
Okay.
20 participants right now, Anshuman.
Okay.
They're coming in now, so we have
Yeah,
21.
they're coming.
Yeah.
It's- I think that's how it always is. Last, you'll see in the next minute, we'll see hopefully a lot of them. But if you can send the request again, Neha, ma'am, that'll be great.
So this is for which classes, Mr. Anshuman? Just to understand.
9 to 12th class, plus teachers.
Okay.
Yes, for staff and students grade 9 to 12.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Neha ma'am, you're mute.
No, I'm telling teachers around me to join.
Sure.
Right.
Reminders have been posted.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
So I
I
think
think
we
we
can
should
start
start in a couple of minutes, maybe in a
Yeah.
minute.
in a minute, Ashish. Let's start in a minute.
Yep.
So we've circulated the message. More people, teachers as well as students, should be joining ASAP.
Thank
Okay.
you.
How is the mood at your location, Neha, ma'am, Anshuman? How's everything back home?
So we just reopening. Rajasthan government permitted schools to open from 7th. The government schools opened with
Okay.
50% staff strength. We've also opened today itself.
We're in
Wonderful.
school at the moment.
Oh,
Mhm.
lovely.
Oh.
That's wonderful. Okay. So students are coming, or it's only the teachers who are coming to school?
No, so we have a summer vacation on actually.
Okay. Okay. So it's only the teachers who are coming to school.
Currently, it's just the administrative staff. Even the academic staff, we're not calling at the moment because they just ended with their classes at the end of May. So there's a month-long break for everyone. We'll be
Got it.
restarting from 1st July now.
Right. Okay, that's great. I think hopefully things will be back on track.
Fingers crossed.
So I think we should start, Shikha. I think others will
I
join
think-
as we get along.
Yes, Bhaiya. Vinamra, can we go live, please?
Yes, ma'am. We'll be live within 15. You can start, ma'am.
A very
Neha,
warm.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Neha, ma'am was saying something. She's muted.
No, not to you. To
Okay,
people
okay.
around you.
Okay, go ahead, Shikha.
A very warm welcome for today's Ideas That Matter webinar series. Through this series, we want to create an environment where ideas travel and creativity blossoms. When the mind is without fear, we can do wonders. Our mission is very simple: create mind, create path, and change things. It is a first of its kind initiative by New Age Research Shuli University. Thank you, Euro International School, Jodhpur, for giving us this opportunity. We both the institutions share a common vision of inspiring, motivating, and guiding the teachers and the students. I am Shikha Sood, Head of Outreach, Shuli University. I give you a very hearty warm welcome to Anshuman Sir, Director of the school. I believe Shivani ma'am has not joined, but Shivani ma'am, founder principal, Neha Mathur ma'am, principal, all the teachers and our dear students who have taken time out to watch us live. I'm also pleased to welcome our very special guests of the day, Professor Ashish Khosla and Professor
Hi.
Khosla. Professor Atul Khosla is founder, vice chancellor of Shuli University. He did his BTech from IIT Kanpur and MBA from Jamnalal Bajaj, Mumbai. He has a total 25 years of experience working with MNCs like McKinsey. He left his hefty package job just because of his passion and love for teaching. And today we are also joined by Professor Ashish Khosla, and Professor Ashish Khosla will be introduced to you by Professor Atul Khosla. But before we do that, I would request Anshuman sir just to introduce the school to both the speakers.
So thank you for the introduction, ma'am. And it's a pleasure to have Professor Atul Khosla and Professor Ashish Khosla with us. And I would also like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you to Euro International School, virtually, of course. Thanks to Ruchi Johri ma'am for helping us organize this. AI is up and coming field, and we are very interested in exposing students to this subject. And of course, there can be no better people to do it than the team we have here today. So first of all, Ashish sir, we're very grateful to you for taking time out of your schedule to help us with this, to brief the students about the topic. We are a K-12 school. We currently have around 600 students. Our first batch of 12th passed out this past session. And we are affiliated with CBSE. We've been open these past 6 years. Apart from academics, our main focus is on extracurricular and co-curricular activities. Of course, if you're ever in Jodhpur, we would love to show you around the campus. It's a rich campus with digital classes and smart boards. So we're very much looking forward to the session, and we're very happy to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anshuman, and we're very happy to be here. It's very good to speak to students and teachers and, speak about AI, because as I'll go on the rest of the presentation, this is the future. And these are the future, the people, the students and the teachers listening to this are actually the future of the nation and the world. So thanks for that.
Now I would request Professor Atul Khosla to introduce the speaker of the day.
Thank you, Shikha, and it's my honor and pleasure to introduce Ashish. He's also my elder brother. Very quickly, both of us grew up in a small town called Solan in Himachal, and of course we went to the same school. Ashish was always my role model because he was extremely good at speaking. In fact, when he was in his 9th grade, he came first in India in the National Science Museum competition and won an award to visit NASA and Smithsonian institutions in Washington, D.C. So Ashish was always the person driving me to push myself, and also my coach helping me prepare for IIT when I was preparing for that. Ashish is electronics engineer from the very famous Punjab Engineering College in Chandigarh. He then went and did his MBA from IIM Calcutta, and he's been a banker all his life, but a banker with a difference, a banker with a keen follower of technology. So Ashish truly believes that technology is going to change the world, including education. And he's the one who's been pushing Shulini towards frontiers of new technology. So I'd like to mention over here very proudly that Shulini is a leader in technology, just like you mentioned, Anshuman. We believe that the future is a hybrid model where we liberally use technology for superior learning of our students. We are using a lot of artificial intelligence, including a product called Sikandar that Ashish has developed, and he'll speak about that as he goes into explaining what artificial intelligence is and also explaining how artificial intelligence can be used by both teachers and learners, which I think is also very, very important. I think with that, Ashish is going to be the speaker of the day. I won't take the steam out of his presentation, but I'm very excited, Ashish, to welcome you and very excited to introduce Shulini University to all of you. We are located in Kasoli, and we are very proud to have built a great institution that specializes in research and innovation and is different. Every student is filing patents at Shulini. Every student is writing research papers, and lots of our students are going to the best universities of the world after their undergraduation to study after that. So we've had students at Stanford and other top US universities and the likes. So Ashish, over to you. That was from
Hi,
my
Atul.
side, and I'm
Thank
looking
you for the
forward to
very
this very
kind
exciting
words,
discussion.
Atul. Yeah, thanks for the kind words. And, without much ado, I'll start. Basically, what I'll do is I'll split my presentation into two parts. Firstly, I'll give an overview of what exactly is artificial intelligence. We'll take a break for questions, and then we'll come back and say, how can AI actually impact students? And what should students be doing so that they can kind of start their journey with artificial intelligence? So let me start by sharing a small presentation here. Right? So the first question that comes to us is, now what is artificial intelligence? And very simply said, it's when machines and computers can learn and think and communicate and do what human beings can do with all their intelligence. Now, the whole point is that, people ask me, who should know about artificial intelligence? Do you have to be a software coder, a geek sitting in Silicon Valley to know about artificial intelligence? But the fact is that AI is actually all around us already. If you watch a movie on Netflix or Prime and you get a suggestion for a movie, it's artificial intelligence. If you do a search in Google and it tells you, what the answer to your question is, they're using AI. If you go and buy a shirt on Flipkart or Amazon, and next time they tell you what to buy, that again is AI. And when you speak to your phone and Siri answers, that again is AI. So AI is actually everywhere. Not having AI, not knowing AI is like back in the 1990s, somebody said, I don't want to use a mobile phone because I think it's irrelevant. But today, as you know, the world works on mobile phones. And similarly, knowing about AI is the same thing. Because in the next 5 years, we'll see AI everywhere around us. In fact, already AI is used in professions like medicine. And as you know, the very fact that we know that COVID-19 is a coronavirus is because of AI. The reasons that vaccines have been expedited and are with the world less than a year and were with the world less than a year after the outbreak was because of AI. If you want to be an artist, if you want to be a psychologist, if you want to be a historian, and psychologists and historians are important in something called ethics of AI. And of course, if you want to be a teacher or an engineer, the whole point is you would need to know what an AI is. So essentially, it's everywhere. By the way, talking about art, the other day I was reading about this artist who's only 19 years old, and he's using AI to help create his work. And he sold a piece of art for $190,000. That's around close to 1 crore rupees. Now, the first thing is that there is this fictional concept of AI that's called general AI, which is, now if you see down, you have what is left of Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie The Terminator. I'm sure most of you have seen it. And on top, you've got the confused robot in the movie I, Robot. So the concept of AI in movies and fiction is about a walking, talking, human being-like machine And that's what we feel that comes to mind first when we talk about AI. But the truth is actually that, this robot or general purpose AI is very, very hard. And the reason is that human beings, now we have behind us around 7 billion years of evolution. Our brain has billions of neurons, and these are very difficult to understand and therefore even difficult to replicate. So the AI that we talk about these days is not this end-to-end robot or general purpose AI. The AI that we talk about is special purpose AI, which means it is artificial intelligence only for one purpose. It focuses only on one area. So for example, we got AIs that play games. So we got AIs that play chess, poker, Go playing programs. They can only do one thing. It can play poker or it can play chess. We use it in industry. You have speech to text and image recognition. So your face is recognized by an AI almost immediately these days. But that AI which recognizes your face does not know what you're saying. So it's only one thing at a time that AI does. Web search AI, medical diagnosis, and driving a car. Talking about driving a car, by the way, I am currently based out of Dubai. Around a month back, there is this area and I was walking there and I saw this car and there was no driver. In fact, there was nobody in the front seat at all. The car was going and there were 3 people in the back. So driving cars is actually becoming a reality with AI, right? But the point I'm trying to make at this stage is that the AI that is driving the car cannot play chess, or it does not know what I'll be saying, or it will not be able to do a web search for me. So the AI, what it's doing is taking one area, one narrow area, and it's specializing on that. Now, because we have a group of students, it's very important to talk about something that interests them, that is games. And what has happened is that AI actually has made a huge impact on the gaming world. And by the way, the reason AI has come about is also because of the increased capability of the graphics card that was first developed because of gaming. Now, AI has made huge amount of progress in games. So there is this game called Jeopardy, and people said that, it's a very intuitive game. Computers can't defeat it. But in 2011, Watson defeated the world Jeopardy champion. And then people said, what about the normal games that we play? And so Atari is amongst the leaders in video games, and a lot of skill is required. Again, people thought you can't beat human beings in Atari video games. 2015, DeepMind, which is a computer, it developed the capability to beat almost any human being on an Atari game. Now there's a game called Go, and that's a 3,000-year-old Chinese game. And people said, it needs a lot of intuition, a lot of insight, a lot of practice. There's no way a computer can beat it. And for many years, what they said was true. But in 2016, AlphaGo, which is a AI program, defeated the Go world champion. So that's 2016. Finally, there's a game called Poker, and Poker not only uses intuition, it's also a game of a little bit of chance and a lot of skill. And so people said there's no way, of course, human beings will consistently perform as good as computers. But then in 2017, CMU, which is Carnegie Mellon University, they made an AI program called Librettist, and that defeated the world top human poker players. So what we're seeing is that by specializing in one area, AI is performing better than human beings. But for somebody like me, actually, the watershed moment came way back in 1997. And Gary Kasparov was the world champion there. By the way, a year before he played Deep Blue, he played with a precursor version of Deep Blue in 1996. And when Gary Kasparov, who by the way, some people say is the world's best player ever, and he was a reigning champion for 10 years, he played Deep Blue and he won in 1996. And people like me said, obviously this was about to happen. How can a computer defeat Gary Kasparov? But you can see his face in 1997, and the computer, which is IBM's Deep Blue, defeated him in 1997. And by the way, now these days you don't even hear of computers playing human beings. So Gary Kasparov or Vishwanathan Anand, they don't play computers anymore, but because it is a given fact, known knowledge, that computers will beat human beings in chess. Now, my own experience with chess, and I'm going to spend a minute on that, is that, by the way, I was my college chess champion, small college, of course. Then I picked up chess, around 10 years back, and I started doing pretty well against human players. But then a few years down the line, I downloaded this program called Stockfish, and after that, it's been downhill for me. I just keep losing to Stockfish. And I'll give you an example that'll make you understand how it works. This is a program. This is a game between me and Stockfish, and I can move in 25 moves, and Stockfish can move. I can move in 25 possible ways, and Stockfish can respond back in another 25 ways. So my question to those who like maths is, if I want to think 10 steps deep, how many moves will I have to think of? Or if I want to think 25 steps deep, which what, by the way, Stockfish thinks 26 steps deep, how many moves will I have to think of? And here is the answer. If I want to think of 10 steps, 10 moves ahead, and look at all the moves, then this is the number. And the number in gray here is actually a billion. So I have to think of 95 billion moves, which I can't do, which is why I lose to Stockfish. But as you know, Stockfish actually thinks of 26 or 25 moves ahead. So this is the number. This is the number of moves it actually calculates. So, the number in gray is a billion. So this is a billion. This is 8,881 billion. And that's the reason why, Kasparov and Vishwanathan Anand don't play with the Stockfish anymore, because it is thinking of 8,000 billion step moves. And therefore, it knows probably all the answers there. Just a thought here is that, and unlike the popular concept in science fiction, I just want to leave that thought with you, is that people say AI is when systems think like human beings, or it's like when they act like human beings. Now, in science, we still don't know how human beings act. I mean, are they rational actors, or sometimes they just do what they feel like doing? We don't even know what thinking actually is, and that's a deep philosophical question. So what AI actually is as of today is it's about systems that can act logically, that can act rationally. So AI is nothing but systems that can act rationally as of today. Now, by the way, maybe you can run a quiz poll on that. I'm sure you've all heard of Alan Turing, and maybe some of you have seen the movie called The Imitation Game. So my question is, who was Alan Turing? And let's have a poll. Alan Turing was, I think the poll is visible, right, Shikha, now?
Yes, we can see that.
So who was Alan Turing? Was he A, he invented the first AI program. He invented the first computer that could run an AI program. He wrote a rule to identify a software could be called intelligent. And he wrote the world's first AI intelligence program. So if you can just answer A, B, C on the poll, faster fingers first. We're getting a lot of B's and C's. We got some D's as well. No A so far, which is okay, because A is not the answer. That was a hint from me. Okay, so it looks like it's mainly C here, and yeah, let's have some more answers. C still in the lead, or C in the clear lead now, right? That's interesting. Yeah, so we'll stop once we get to a certain number, and yeah, so the answer here is C. So by the way, this is the first school which has given me the right answer, Shikha. Yeah, and Atul. Yeah, so actually Alan Turing was a British scientist in the 1940s and 1950s. He invented the machine called Enigma, using which the British forces could actually find out what the Nazis were sending to each other as codes. And they were able to know about things in advance. And he wrote this rule to identify if a software could be called intelligent. So I think you've got it right here. Good work. Now that's what Alan Turing said. Alan Turing said that human beings are intelligent. And to be called intelligent, a machine must create responses that cannot be differentiated from that of a human being. Let me explain that. Suppose you are sitting outside a room and there is a closed room. And inside that room, you don't know whether there's a computer or a human being. And you start communicating with that, whatever is inside that room. And you start getting answers back. And after a few responses, you say, oh, there's a human being inside it. But actually, if it's a computer, then that computer is artificially intelligent as per Turing's test. So that's Turing test. By the way, this Turing test was formulated by Alan Turing around more than 70 years ago, but still none of the computers actually and consistently meet or they're not able to beat the Turing test. By the way, if you want to earn $1 million or so, every year there's a prize called the Loebner Prize, which is for the best computer which comes closest to meeting the Turing test. You can win that prize. Over the years, what we've seen is nobody's been able to consistently pass the Turing test, but sometimes, robots and bots are able to fool human beings by rephrasing partners' questions. And we'll come to that again in a minute's time. This is the Chinese room argument, which is that, let me explain this with the example of this book I've been reading very recently. It's a book called Blind Side by Peter Watts. Now, what it says is that there is an alien that is part of the book, and human beings come in contact with the alien. Now, the alien does not know or it does not understand human language. It does not even understand what human beings are saying. But what it does is it knows what human beings say to each other. So, for example, if somebody says, how are you? The alien knows that the most common answer is, I'm fine, thank you, how are you? And when somebody says, I'm not well today, what should I do? The alien says, I think, something like, I think you should meet a doctor and I hope you get well soon. So the point is that the alien did not know what the human beings were saying. It just looked at the responses of human beings that they made to each other, and it gave a response back. So that's the Chinese room argument that, quote unquote, without knowing Chinese, somebody can actually pass messages from one part to the other and make it appear as if the person inside a closed room knows Chinese. The point here is that computers may not actually know what they're doing. And they do not have a conscious. So when you say, when you do anything, you're driving a car, when you're studying, you know what you're studying. Computers could be doing and replicating the same outcome, but not know what they're doing. So that's a small argument saying that even if they pass the Turing test, they may not be conscious beings. So another time for another quick poll, if you guys are ready for it, and that is, what is artificial intelligence? So it's A, B, C, D. A, when a software program is more intelligent than humans. Is it more? When a software program can be creative, when it seems to us like a program can think, and when a software program appears to behave like humans. And we're getting answers between C and D. A lot of D's there. Looks like a very smart school, this one, I must say, Atul. They're getting all the answers right. Yep, I can see lots of right answers. In fact, 80% of the answers are actually right. So Shika, can you show the answers? That's right, So I have never seen an 80% score even in college students. So you people are really listening to this very carefully. The answer is actually when it appears that a software program is acting rationally or behaving like human beings is when it's called AI. Thinking is still beyond AI. And in any case, we don't know what thinking actually is. I'm going to take a break, but before that, I'll show you this small presentation, small video. Give me a minute. Shikha, is it audible?
Nice to meet you.
Yes, it is on.
The Netherlands produced about 50%
remarkable organisms. We've known for decades that they can
But
actually
the sound is little bit
He
low.
said it's not visible. Is it okay if I share it?
Yes, Wageningen University has been working very closely with Google to use
Ashish, sir, we
cutting-edge
can't see.
technology
We can just hear it. The video is not being clear.
communication with plants. Hello. We collected an incredible amount of information.
Chika ma'am, should I share it?
We turned this information into a rudimentary language, which is becoming
Have
more
we
and
lost?
more
What is,
sophisticated over
Ashish,
time.
sir, are you there?
The more we listen to nature, the more we
Yeah.
But we can't see the video. It's just the sound which we can hear.
Oh, so I'm so sorry. You know
Sir,
what
is
I'll
it
do
okay
is
if I share it?
I'll do it again. No problem. No problem. Give me a minute. I'll
Okay.
do it.
The Netherlands produce about
One second, huh?
all flowers in the world. The most famous one of all, the tulip, of course.
Flowers are really remarkable.
Hold on. Can you see it now, Shikha?
Yes, we can.
My bad. Sorry.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Can
The
you hear
Netherlands
it also?
produce about 50% of all flowers in the world. The most famous one of
Shikha, can you hear it as well?
Yes, please.
Okay.
all, the tulip, of course. Flowers are really remarkable organisms. We've known for decades that they can actually communicate to each other through their root system.
For the past 2 years, Wageningen University has been working very closely with Google to use cutting-edge technology to look deeper into communication with plants.
Hello.
We collected an incredible amount of information. Using automated machine learning, we turned this information into a new rudimentary language, which is becoming more and more sophisticated over time.
The more we listen to nature, the more we discover the amazing things it has to say.
Okay, Google, talk to my tulip. What do you want?
Water, please.
We've applied all this research into our latest product, Google Tulip.
2 granddaughters, Frances, who's just had a second baby,
That is so interesting.
and
Finished. Nothing left.
More.
Yeah.
You promised more water.
At Keukenhof, we're very excited about tulip technology. We like to know what tulips need, and what better way than to ask them.
I need water, more light.
Please improve humidity.
What is a Please come here. More space.
No more compost.
No water. Thank you. Who are you?
Why are there so many like me?
this way?
More light.
Of course, this is only the beginning. We're rolling out the tulip language in the beginning of April, but we're already well underway with several updates.
Hello,
No.
cactus.
Leave me alone.
It's so great not to have a one-way relationship with the tulips anymore.
What is the meaning of my existence?
Tulip is a breakthrough in human-plant communication, letting users around the world communicate with any tulip.
Okay, Google. Play my favorite music. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll take a small break here. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll talk about it in a minute's time, but first I'll take any comments or questions if we have.
Neha ma'am or Anshubhan sir, if you want to ask any
If there
questions.
are any questions, yeah, Tanvi has raised her hand. So Tanvi, you want to come in and ask the question, please? Can we get Tanvi in? Tanvi from 10A. Or you can just type your question, either which way, Tanvi, whatever you're more comfortable doing.
Tanvi is there now.
Good morning, sir. Good afternoon, actually.
Hi, Tanvi, good afternoon. Very nice to see you here. What's your question?
So my question is this tulip technology actually 100% accurate? How accurate is this?
Tanvi, I couldn't hear your question. Shikha, can you restate that question for me, if you can?
Tanvi, you need to be a little bit loud. I also could not understand your question.
Sir, I'm saying how accurate is this tulip system?
Acha, okay.
So you're saying how accurate
Is
How
the
accurate is it?
is the?
The tulip system, sir. She's talking
Okay,
about the video.
Tanvi, actually, I was about to talk about that, Tanvi. Good question, by the way.
Okay.
So, incidentally, this Google, the reason I showed this was not that it's a real thing. It was made on April 1, 2019 by Google, and it was actually an April Fool's joke. So it wasn't accurate at all. Okay. But the reason I'm showing this is that, Google is a world leader in AI. So in 2019, they said, let's show something which is a joke, which nobody can ever think of. So they made this April 1 joke. But actually already in 2 years, huge amount of progress has been made in understanding and interpreting what is called the secret language of plants and birds and animals. So much so that people say in the next 3-4 years, we'll actually be able to understand the basics of how and what, non-human life communicates with each
So
other.
now, so currently it is only in theory.
As of now, it's largely only theory. That's right. But the reason I'm showing this is actually we're very, very close. 2 years ago, Google could not even imagine that already people are looking at identifying bird calls and identifying how some wild animals communicate with each other. And they've been able to interpret that. Okay. So that's the answer to that. So thanks for that question, Tavni.
Thank you, sir.
Good. Okay, I'll take any other questions.
Any student, if you want to ask question, you can just raise your hand. I think we can go ahead.
Okay. So I think we'll move to the next part then of the session. Yes. No. Amazon Echo is actually an AI, and it's been invented by Amazon. So that's AI definitely. It listens to what you're saying, converts speech to text, searches for a possible answer, and converts text to speech back to you. Similarly, Google has its own system as well. So that's done by the engineers at Amazon. So that question was from Divija. So Divija, that's a nice question. Yes, Amazon Echo definitely is an AI. So by the way, there are millions of AI applications these days, and I'll talk about that in a minute, is that in AI applications, it is data that is very important. The software programming is not as important as the data and the understanding of the logic. So which is why you have college students who come in early who do AI programming. Yes, natural language and speech processing, Neha ma'am, is definitely a big area in AI. By the way, my project when I was in PEC was speech recognition. And this was in the 1990s. And we could not even come close to identifying the human speech and converting to text. We thought we have to find the reasons. We have to find the logic. What AI does is it doesn't even know what it's doing. It just looks at pattern and it comes out with the answer. That's the interesting part. So it just looks at patterns, comes out with the answer, doesn't know what it's doing, but it converts our sounds to text. So that's natural language and speech processing. Yep. So we'll now move on to the next part of the presentation. I'll share again. And I'll just, I'll just move. I'll just spend a minute on this one, which is on ethics. Now, as you students grow up, you'll find that ethics and artificial intelligence is a very, very important issue. And the reason is that, there is so much power that is going to be vested with AI that it is quite possible for AI to do things which are not ethical. It is possible for people to make weapons with AI. And the other day I was seeing a video where they just show a bullet, the image of the person. Again, that's a bit futuristic, thankfully. And the bullet goes out in the air and keeps searching for the person until it sees it, and then it hits the person. So ethics in AI is very important. We hope things like that will not happen. And by the way, if you want to read a book, do read this book called I, Robot by Isaac Asimov. He comes out with the 3 laws of robotics. Won't go into these laws, read them and see what it means, right? But a lot of ethics around driving a car. I mean, when should a car be given a license to drive by itself in case there is no human driver, right? So those things are getting to be more and more important. We'll skip this part unless you want to come to it saying, where do computers shine? So, okay, let's spend a minute. So AI has an advantage wherever there's a clear-cut job, right? So if it's a game like chess, if there's logical inferences from clear facts, if you want to do some complicated calculation, you know, those maths calculations that you see in your textbook, which are really complicated, and you say, what is this? I can't do it. AI can do it like this, right? Things like image recognition. So you show the image of your entire class, by the way. We can actually do that for any school. And I'm talking about my own company. And we can recognize everybody in the class straight away, right? Speech recognition, you can identify whether it is Ashish or Atul or Shikha or Neha ma'am. You know, all the learning in computer games are rule-based. And self-driving cars, again, that's very rule-based. AI has an advantage over there. So the question is, where do human beings shine? And, you know, I'll come to that. And for example, in medicine, now in medicine, obviously, you can make rules. And definitely AI will be better in understanding rules than human beings are. But as they say, there is a thing called empathy and understanding the patient and giving a little bit of confidence to the patient, which is as important as the medicine, which good doctors do. And that's something AI would never be able to do. The other thing is human beings are able to intuitively do things, which AI needs algorithms. So we have this intuition, which is inborn within us. Difficult for AI to replicate that. And therefore, creativity is something that AI doesn't have at all so far. So things that come naturally to us, including telling a lie, is very difficult for an AI. Transferring learning, explaining our reasoning, these are other things that human beings shine at. Of course, AI can still not make a joke. So humor, emotions, those are things that we are much better at. Lots of careers in AI, by the way, if you want to look at it, right from software engineering to data mining to understanding a business. Like the other day, as Atul said, last year he was in Texas. He's not here right now. And somebody told him from the University of Texas at Austin that, you know, there's a huge amount of demand for people who understand biology and artificial intelligence, because that is a big growing area as well, right? So we'll skip through that. Again, I want to spend a minute showing difference between how human beings work and how AI works. Okay, let's take medicine. Now, suppose you want to be a dermatologist, which is a skin specialist. Now, a dermatologist has to study for 6 years. He studies a wide range of things, and then he sees 3 or 4 cases of each type. For example, if there is something on the skin, he sees 3 or 4 examples of that, and he learns what needs to be said, what needs to be the cure for it. And that is how human beings work. And he knows it is this problem, this is how it needs to be approached. On the other hand, what an AI needs, it needs, for every disease, it needs hundreds and thousands of samples. It doesn't even need to be told the theory behind it, whether it's a virus or a bacteria. It just needs to see hundreds of samples, identify the odd ones, and you know, it can then therefore start out by identifying the potential diseases. So therefore, AI works on data while human beings work on quote unquote learning, intuition, understanding. We'll skip that. By the way, this is just a note saying, you know, here is IBM's Watson. They had a debater project versus a human debater. So these days, you know, if you want to speak, on the other side, there is a debater, which is actually a computer. You can see this computer standing over here. And here is one of the world's leading debaters. So they actually could have a valid debate way back in 2019. So we'll skip this and I'll come to AI in education. And I think, in AI in education, there are two things. As students, you can learn computer science and AI. That's the first thing you can do. And the second thing, AI can actually make learning better. And we'll talk about that in a minute or so. The first thing is that, imagine you're going home and getting your homework, and every student has a different homework. And that is something that can be done by AI. You can improve on things like debating, writing using AI. And AI can actually make your learning actually interesting. I will give a few examples of this one. So one example is verse by verse. Do look at it. Type in versebyverse.com, and it will actually help you write a poem. So today, unfortunately, I don't have the time, but this is a poem actually written by a student with the help of AI, and the entire poem actually is written by the student, which means it's not a case of plagiarism or copying. So look at this versebyverse.com. The whole idea is that it says with AI, anybody can be a poet. Another example is SAS-book. And what you can do is you can upload your whole chapter and it will give you summaries. And you can take 3 or 4 summaries and save them. And this is not to say that you should not read the chapter, right? So the recommended thought here is, as an educationist, read the chapter, use AI to make the summaries. So the next time you don't have to read the chapter, you can just read the summaries. So there are many AI programs, and SAS-book is just one of them, which help you build summaries from your chapters. Similarly, there is an AI writer, which if you want to write on an article, then you can write keywords. It will give you hints on what to write. Don't copy paste those, but it's looking at the entire Wikipedia or web and giving you hints. You can take those hints and then you can write in your own style and you can write an article. And then you have Sikandar. Sikandar actually is our own, it's for debating and interviews. It's our own program. What it does is that you speak, it looks at your video, it converts your speech to text. It also sees, how are you speaking? Are you speaking too fast? Or are you speaking too slow? Are you sounding bored? Are you sounding like Salman Khan in that recent movie, which is Hamming, right? So it tries to find out whether you're speaking correctly and gives you tips around that. It also looks at your facial expressions and sees, are you standing straight? Are you making eye contact? Are you frowning? Or are you smiling at the right time? So it looks at all that and gives the speaker tips about how to speak. And that's how you can actually use it to improve your communication. And one more thing for schools is you can actually find out how is what student performing in what subject, who are the toppers, who are the potential toppers, who are the regular students, who are some of the strugglers. And strugglers could be students who are very good, for example, in English and science, but might be struggling in math, or might be struggling in Hindi or Sanskrit, assuming you have those subjects. And which are the students who are kind of likely to drop out or really struggling because of this whole online concept. So you can actually work, your teachers can work and find out which student needs what kind of support in what subject. And AI helps in all that. One more thing, using AI, you can actually decide what you want to be and what you want to learn. And, the whole world of education will change very, very in the next few years, where you say, I'm here, and it's like Google Maps, right? You say, I'm here, and you click that button, I want to go here. It makes a map for you. It makes a route for you. So you can make your own route and decide what are the places you want to visit on the way. So you can say, for example, I really want to be, for example, a doctor. Therefore, I need to study biology, chemistry, a little bit of physics, a little bit of statistics. And, I want to get ready for my medicine exam this way. So you can build your own learning path, and that is something that is also coming up with AI. Okay, so that's all from me. I'm gonna stop here. And in case there are any questions, I'll be very happy to take those.
Any questions from anybody? Any students? Neha ma'am or
Or
Anshuman?
if not, I mean, if right now a question isn't coming, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Please reach out to your teacher through Neha ma'am, and Shikha will definitely come to me, and I'll be very happy answering your questions later on. Yeah. One question that students normally ask me, and I was waiting for that, is that how do we learn coding? What should we do? And my answer is to them is do not make the mistake for going for one of these expensive paid programs, right? And my answer is go to a free site like Code Academy or code.org. Use it, try out your hand yourself, and once you get familiar, you can go to the next stage. That's my response. There are so many free resources. Khan Academy is another resource. Use a free resource, right? And I'm sure you'll have a computer science teacher. Go back to your teacher for feedback or input. But use a free resource, get set up. There's another one called Scratch, built by MIT, and that is to help actually children make video games. And use one of these, and that's how you can learn and get your hands quote unquote dirty with coding. This is the future. Yeah.
Now I would request Neha ma'am for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Naima.
A very good afternoon to everyone on board, all the students, staff members, and the panelists. Extremely knowledgeable session taken up by Professor Ashish Khosla. I would like to take the opportunity on behalf of the management, staff, and students of Euro International School to thank Team Shulini University, Professor Atul Khosla, Professor Ashish Khosla, Ms. Shikha, and Ms. Ruchi Johari for coordinating the entire event along with Anshuman sir. Thank you, everyone. I'm sure all the students have got good amount of insight on the topic AI, because AI is the future. Deep learning, machine learning, AI, that's all around us, be it Cortana of Microsoft, be it Siri of Apple, be it Google Assistant, be it Alexa, be it Echo, everything is AI. And we are surrounded by AI knowingly or unknowingly, and we are becoming AI dependent day by day. The more technology advances, our dependence on AI is increasing, and therefore the students must be well aware about AI. And thank you so much for shedding light on this topic that every student must know. And being a computer science master's in engineering myself, and even Anshuman sir is a bachelor in computer science.
Oh, great,
so
very nice.
you have explained the key terms in a very simple way, and children are able to actually understand when you related it with real life examples. So that is amazing. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Team Shulini University. It was a pleasure being with you.
Thank you very much. And children, I'm very happy speaking to you. It will give me a great sense of pride if I get to know that some of you have taken up AI as a profession and have done something to make India proud. So all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much.